Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are peeling back the curtain on the supposedly glamorous world of hotel ownership. You know, we all picture this beautiful, passive, commercial real estate empire. But honestly, the data tells a wildly different story. Let's dive right in and uncover the hidden mechanics of an industry that is way more intense than its polished exterior lets on. Walk into any upscale hotel lobby, and man, it feels like you've just stepped right into a money-printing vault, doesn't it? The chandeliers, the pristine floors, the sheer scale of the whole thing. But here's the jaw-dropping reality. The average U.S. hotel actually operates on a razor-thin 4.4% net profit margin. To put that into perspective for you, that is literally lower than the profit margin of your average neighborhood grocery store. Wild, right? So to really understand how to survive in this space, we've got to contrast that glossy public illusion of hospitality with the gritty economic reality. Most folks think a hotel is this silent marble vault just effortlessly printing passive wealth. But the reality, it is a relentlessly unforgiving, operationally intense meat grinder. You are basically running a 24-hour, localized monopoly that demands constant active management just to keep the lights on. Okay, let's talk about the barrier to entry, because the sheer scale here is staggering. Building a standard 100-room mid-scale hotel, it's not like buying a house. It's honestly more like building an $18 million private jet that never actually takes off. You're building commercial kitchens, massive laundry facilities, and redundant HVAC systems. Add to that about $2 million in furniture, fixtures, and equipment, which by the way breaks down to roughly 20 grand per room just for the basics. And since lenders see this as high risk, they'll only cover maybe 60 to 70% of it. So you're forced to lock up millions in cash, including around $3 million in working capital, before a single guest ever even walks through the front doors. And once those doors finally open, bam, you meet your first massive ongoing expense. According to Matthews Real Estate, U.S. hotels paid out a staggering $123 billion in wages and compensation in 2024 alone. Thanks to intense labor shortages and inflation, wage costs have shot up 20% since 2019. In markets like LA and Phoenix, we're talking a surge of around 30%. Make no mistake, payroll is the ultimate leviathan in this business. It absolutely eats first. When you start stacking up all these operating expenses, the financial pressure gets immense real quick. I mean, labor is just the starting line. You've got energy and utilities burning through hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just to heat laundry water to 160 degrees and keep the HVAC pumping 24/7. Then third-party booking sites like Expedia swoop in and siphon off 20% of your revenue. Layer on skyrocketing insurance premiums and property taxes, and well, the math gets pretty claustrophobic. Get this. A hotel generating $10 million in gross revenue might spend over $9.5 million just keeping the physical plant alive and the creditors at bay. You can actually see the squeeze plain as day in the data from STR and CoStar provided by Trinity Investments. Even with really strong top-line performance and demand bouncing back across all sorts of hotel tiers, that relentless surge in employee compensation and everyday operational friction makes translating revenue into actual bottom-line gross operating profit incredibly tough. You're just constantly fighting to protect your margins from inflationary pressures. All this friction creates a completely unique asset class. Trinity Investments makes a great point here. Unlike traditional real estate, like an office building with those nice, comfortable 10 to 15-year locked leases, a hotel's revenue base resets every single day. Every afternoon turns into this intense psychological chess match where you have to earn your occupancy all over again. Algorithms are out there repricing rooms in literally 4 seconds based on localized flight delays, random weather patterns, competitor pricing. It requires an insane level of active management. So, the million-dollar question, where does the money actually go? If we follow a guest's $200 payment, which, sure, feels like a great cash injection, the reality is more of a mirage. Invisible forces just devour almost all of it right out of the gate. Boom, $30 vanishes to the booking site. Another $25 to occupancy taxes, $10 to brand franchise fees, and then a massive chunk goes straight to labor, debt, and utilities. At the end of the day, the owner is left with maybe $8 or $9 in actual profit from that keycard swipe. Which brings us to one of the most profound realizations in hospitality. And it's this: the room is not the business. The room is just a baited hook. Think about that for a second. The standard room rate is essentially a loss leader. Its main job is just to pay the massive overhead required to keep the building open. Why? So you can get the guest inside your closed ecosystem, because that is where the real business begins. But hold on. Before we get to that real business, we have to talk about the absolute chaos required to maintain this whole illusion of calm. The machinery operating behind the scenes is ruthless. Housekeeping, for instance, runs on a razor-thin mathematical edge. Rooms must be completely stripped, cleaned, and reset in exactly 28 minutes. And if a housekeeper falls behind by just 3 minutes on that limit, the entire evening check-in pipeline collapses. That triggers frustrated guests, terrible reviews, and you having to hand out 3 vouchers that immediately cannibalize the revenue you just fought so hard to optimize. Okay, but once that guest is finally settled in the room, the economics completely flip. The actual wealth generation happens through the localized monopoly of the property. Remember, you might make a tiny fraction of profit on the room itself, but that $8 bottle of water in the minibar, that is yielding a 4,000% margin. You're charging $15 a day for internet access that costs pennies to supply, and if they're really desperate, $30 for an emergency phone charger. These are the real profit centers, and they're hiding right in plain sight. Now, the ultimate hidden engine of hotel revenue? It actually isn't the exhausted individual traveler at all. It's the corporate meeting planner. Transforming your public spaces unlocks high-margin corporate group business. Get this, a hotel will practically give away sleeping rooms to a corporation just to lock down the conference space. Why in the world would they do that? Because you get to legally charge a captive, corporate-funded audience $10 for a single slice of cheese and a $2 coffee at a morning breakout session. That, my friends, is pure, unadulterated profit. And this is exactly where smart capital deployment changes the entire game. As Trinity Investments points out, amenity upgrades, we're talking rooftop bars, modern fitness centers, dynamic food and beverage options, they aren't just nice to have. They actually convert basic cost centers into independent revenue drivers. These spaces draw in locals and expand your addressable guest profile, which generates meaningful new income that doesn't even rely on how many people are actually sleeping in the building that night. So how do experienced operators turn all of this intense hustle into massive wealth? Well, because hotels are valued based on net operating income, or NOI, expense discipline is absolutely everything. Step 1. Optimize your labor and utilities. Step 2. This expands your NOI. Step 3 is where the magic trick happens. Every single dollar of structural cost reduction you manage to achieve can translate to 12 to 15 times its value when you eventually sell the property. Literally, save $1 today, create up to $15 of asset value at exit. It creates this incredibly powerful compounding value cycle. You start by investing strategically in the product itself, which boosts your ratings and brand recognition. That allows you to grow your average daily rate and overall revenue. With tight expense discipline, your margins expand and your overall asset value shoots up. Then, specialized operators take those gains, reinvest at scale, and the cycle just continues. It's a brilliant, powerful loop of operational improvement and strategic capital deployment. But hey, nothing in this industry comes without a catch, right? You might buy into a major franchise thinking that having a globally recognized logo on the side of your building is this ultimate protective shield against failure. But in reality, it introduces a massive layer of friction. The parent brand can siphon off up to 9% of your total sales just to keep their name on the marquee. And buried deep, deep in the fine print of that franchise agreement is the ultimate hidden risk, the PIP, or Property Improvement Plan. This thing is essentially a financial guillotine. Every 5 to 7 years, the parent corporation can dictate mandatory, forced capital expenditures just to ensure your property matches their newest design prototype. I mean, you could literally be forced to spend millions ripping out a perfectly good 3-year-old lobby just because corporate decided that matte black finishes are the new mandatory standard. So think about it. You've navigated the massive upfront costs, fought the algorithmic pricing wars, survived the 28-minute room turnarounds, and paid out your hefty franchise fees. As we wrap up this explainer, the next time you marvel at a silent, luxurious hotel lobby, ask yourself, is this a machine effortlessly printing passive wealth, or is it an ongoing, high-stakes war of operational survival? Keep questioning what you see on the surface. We'll catch you next time.